this is the time of year I come out with that question is where do you want to be this time next year? And so everybody's like, hmm, what have I done this year? And sometimes just sitting back and evaluating what you've done this year, like you're going, oh, I feel like I didn't do enough until maybe you start making a list of the stuff you've done, including how much how much you've written or a new program that you started or you performed something you didn't know you could or you put a 1 hour show together or there's a lot to being an independent musician and it's hard when you're doing it on your own, so we'll talk a little about everything, but I don't want to scare you guys, but usually start with you thinking about a 3-year plan. Once you start jumping into doing music, think about it as a growing situation. So maybe when we start talking about, well, I've done that already. Okay. So you kind of move up to do different more things. The more people who pay attention to you, whether it's industry or fans or whatever it is, um, as you start growing, then it's easier to get things like endorsements and sponsorships and maybe a sub publishing deal or something like that. But it all has to do with two things. One, do you have current songs right now? And so for those of you who put songs out this year, I started back in September and say, do you have songs for next year? Because next year's here pretty soon. So recording, writing is the most important thing. You can't, and I can't do anything unless we have the songs already. So I would never work with anybody who didn't write their own songs because that's how you grow, no matter what you're doing with things. So start thinking about that. I know I teach at MI, and it seems like to me that there's always a handful or two of students who are done their program and say, I'm going to do this for a living, right? I don't care what it's going to take. I don't care what I have to learn. I don't care who I'm going to shake hands I have to shake. What do I have to do? I know a couple people who got a separate job so they could pay for the recording because I wanted a certain way, those kind of things. And so it's about determination. And usually by the 3-year mark, you go, okay, I've done a lot of work, and guess what? It's starting to show, you know. But you have to celebrate every little thing that you accomplish because it's only going to help you keep going, that kind of stuff, and then we'll talk a little about time and money because those are the things that always get in the way. I don't care how many times you've done this, time and money always gets in the way. And again, as independent musicians, you get to call your own shots. You get to choose when you're going to do it and when it's going to happen. If you have to move a deadline, you get to choose all that stuff. So, you're to me, you're never behind. Um, you're just always looking forward. And so even, so we're going to look at everything and maybe you can't concentrate on everything. Maybe it's just a little at a time. So if you don't have songs for next year yet, it's time. It's time to write, think about recording. When can you put music out? And I tell everybody that since the beginning of the year is coming up pretty fast, I want you to consider putting out a fan favorite song. The song that got the most listens, views. People always ask you to play that song when you're out live. And put that song out again. Re-release it, okay, re-record it, do whatever you want to do. Because it just brings back the people who like that song, and then they start sharing it, and then it starts all over again, that kind of stuff. So I recommend that more than anything else. And if you don't have a song even in January about starting over or in the beginning or whatever you wanted to talk about, then guess what? We have Valentine's Day coming up in February. If you have a love song or an anti-love song, this is the time to put it out. I don't care how long ago you wrote it, it makes no difference. It'll just get a lot. One of the girls I'm working with, she did a Christmas song last year and this year. And so we have it out now and got it on some playlist and all that kind of stuff. Um, And so that's another thing to keep current. You know, most of us know that between Thanksgiving and the middle of January, nothing happens in our industry. Not unless you have a Christmas song, right? With anything like that. So this is our time. This is our time to decide, what do you want to do more this year than you did last year? And then sit down and try to figure it out. And maybe don't figure it out yourself. Maybe you get with another musician and you meet or you Zoom every 2 or 3 weeks and kind of do a checkup on each other, that kind of thing. Or or maybe you find a group that does that. I had somebody that was joining a songwriting group because they couldn't finish their songs, those kind of things. So there's a goal for you to do those kind of things. So that's I just want to encourage people, and I believe that you can do it. I believe you can do it, right? But again, you also need people that are encouraging you, people who believe in you, that kind of stuff. Stay away from those people that are downers. Like going, oh, nobody ever makes money in the industry, that kind of stuff. Because there's so many around, they can really pull us down no matter what. So I think it's important that we think about those things. So you got to know what level you are. Okay, beginner, you're just putting music out and stuff. This year, you're writing, recording, you're starting a social media account, you're performing somewhere. I would love for you to perform once a month or every other month. As long as I don't care where it is. It could be an open mic night. You could be busking. I don't care what the story is. Open it up for somebody, just doing one song, doing a songwriter in the round. I don't care what it is, but it's hard to get out. So the hardest step is the first step. So you want to start thinking about stuff. And if you can just go check it out, you don't have to like even perform. So if you feel like, oh, I'm not sure if this is the right place for me, you can always kind of look at that stuff. If you're intermediate to me means you have at least 2 EPs out, right? Or starting on your second EP. This is the performance and promotion year for you. This is putting the new music out. This trying to get more fans. It's thinking about new ways to promote, those kind of things. And so this may be the year also that you go looking for endorsements. Because if you've been playing and you've been doing it for a while and people are paying attention to you, then the NAMM show is coming up. You should try to get a ticket to that and look around. There's a lot of new businesses out there that would love to give you their product to use, that kind of stuff. And just a little hint, if you do go to the NAMM show, they used to have all the new businesses downstairs. And now what they do is they put them around the perimeter of wherever you're going. So if it's the drums, they have all the independent drum companies around the outside. So hit the outside first and then go see the companies that you really like. Right? That kind of stuff. If you're advanced, that means maybe you've done a little touring, you have 50 to 100 people coming out when you have big shows. I don't mean every time. We don't, if we are here in Hollywood, everybody knows the Hollywood scene here. But most of the time, if we're selling tickets, that's what I'm talking about. So if we're every 3 months doing a ticket show, we want to make sure that if we're doing that, then you're at this level where you can kind of start doing more stuff because people are paying attention to you. It's putting music releases, scheduling, social media stuff, learning how to do that. And then making time to look at sponsorships, growing your fan base, maybe even a publishing or record deal here. And for those of you who go, I don't want a record deal, I'm like, but really? Why? Because independent labels are doing great now and they can really push you forward, and they're taking a lot of people on, and so they don't have to make as much money back either, right? That kind of stuff. So it may be something to start looking for. um, Even if if you do a big show, a ticket show every 3 months, and you can bring 50 to 100 people, you can start pitching yourself to open for other people that are coming through town. So that's the thing you look at. And my little secret is look at all those venues you want to look at and look at the calendar, and it's going to take some time. Start listening to the people who are booked already and then see if you can open for them. and that's how it starts growing, that kind of stuff. So really, that's really the way to kind of start pushing yourself forward for that kind of stuff. But be realistic about where you are, and then how far you have to grow, that kind of stuff. Scheduling time and money, oh my god, that's always in the way. Time and money, no matter what we do, that's so in the amendment. So number one, especially if you have people in your band with you, make sure you use a Google Calendar so everybody can see when things are coming up on their phone and on the computer and stuff like that. um, but right now, if you start looking at the new calendar, put in everything that you can't change, whether it's for a job that you have, or it's family, or it's appointments, or whatever it is, put it in there. Just do that for January, right? As you start doing that. And then you can see some open spots. Like, what do I do on Friday between 3 and 8? Nothing, you know? And so, or Sunday morning when it's quiet, and you can get some work done. Just dedicate some time, 2 hour block, if you can do it twice a week, and just concentrate on this is what I need to work on. I need to write these songs. How am I going to produce these songs? What kind of business things do I have to do? Those kind of things. Just give the business that time, and don't give it away. It means you can't give it up. It's like you paid for a gym appointment, and you are not going to give it up no matter what, that kind of stuff. But so dedicate your time for that, no whether it's networking or whatever it is. If you need more money, I know many people who've learned new computer programs, whether it's Canva or um, editing their videos, all that kind of stuff, and they start doing that as a job, something on the side with those kind of things. Barter with another musician or business person, that you can do something for them and they can do something for you to kind of grow and stuff like that. Add more work hours or hire a college student. There's a lot of universities here, and there's a lot of people, some of them learning marketing, those kind of things, and they would love either to intern with you, or you could pay them a small fee, right, to do that kind of stuff. You know, yeah, you can go to Fiverr, yeah, you can go to Indeed, yeah, you can go to that, but I find that the college students, that they need money anyway, so they might as well be learning that kind of stuff. So I want you to think about this kind of thing. Schedule your social media posts. Um, go out with your iPhone and record 30-second pieces, and then put them up twice a week. Those kind of things. Internet is not, and social media is not leaving us. So you have to find your sweet spot there. But ignoring it is not the way to go. I have people, it's not the way to go, because that's how people are finding you. I have a love-hate relationship with Spotify and Apple Play, because they're not paying you like they're supposed to. But if we don't have our songs up there, how are people we don't know going to find us? That's how people find new music now. So we have to go with what's now, those kind of things. If you are a prolific songwriter and you are, um, you have 10 songs you want to put out, that's 2 EPs. It's not an album. People don't do that anymore. Or or if you have 10 songs, promote all 10 songs and then put the whole album out. It's a singles world. We live in a singles world, whether we like it or not. We live in a singles world. So it's like really important that we understand that we have to follow along with what's going on. If something new comes up, I remember when NFTs came and everybody's like, oh, Chris, we got it. I'm like, oh, shoot, now I need to learn about NFTs, right? And then, after I did my research, I was like, you know what? Guess what? That's not for us right now. I'll keep track of it, but just because it's new, it doesn't mean you have to jump on board. But it's just something you should know about. I read every week. I read a newsletter called Score. It's Rich Ezra puts it together. He's from the Music Registry, and Rich reads everything, and so I trust him to read everything in the world and pick the top 10 or 12 things that he thinks is important. So I can stay in touch with what's going on. There's no way. You can't be working all the time, have any kind of life, and be able to read everything in Billboard every single week. There's just, and it maybe you're not on Billboard yet. You're not thinking about those things, but it's just information that you should know. So everybody should start thinking about those kind of things. Does anybody here have an idea that you can share with us that you do to help with time and money? Anybody
I
have
have
an
one.
Go for it.
I actually hired a virtual assistant in the Philippines,
Mhm.
and they're fantastic. It's like $8 an hour, and they handle all my research, all my pitching. I made templates for them to follow, and they just fill in these, you know, use these videos, use these venues, use these states, whatever it is, and then they handle all of that for me so that now I'm not stuck on the computer for all those hours, and then I can use that time to do other things.
Yeah. Did you use a certain service for that?
Upwork. Upwork has been really
Upwork.
good to me for virtual assistants. This is my third one actually.
Hmm. Yeah. If you go online and you say, "How do I find, an engineer, a producer?" The first thing that comes up is a program called, I mean, a site that's called Sound Better, and then it's Upwork, right? And there is Fiverr too. I tried that a couple times. I just had a hard time finding the right person with that kind of stuff. And then after I finally negotiated with somebody, then they go, "Oh, I said, oh, maybe we can get on a Zoom." I'm not allowed to do that. I'm like, what? You're not allowed to do that, you know?
But the best part with Upwork is you actually put up your needs. So you put up a post for your job, and then people actually pitch you
Uh-huh.
to work your job. And you can put some screening questions beforehand. They actually suggest that you do virtual interviews with them before you hire them.
Right.
So it's really helpful.
Yeah, I mean it really is. And I know the first time I had an intern, because I do everything myself, and I'll be doing, well, what am I going to do with her when she comes? Because you do everything, and then as you start doing something, you're going, oh, I can do this on Friday, and it kind of start, and then people go, oh, but you have to teach them. I'm like, yeah, but that's okay, because then it takes it off your plate. Those kind of things. They just need to be accountable, and like anybody that I pay, then I want to be some accountable somehow at least once a week. So whether and pick the day and time that works for both of you, and just so they know they kind of have to report something when 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 they're doing that stuff for you. And I don't know what you do, but we start an email that only you can see what they're doing. That the specific email, so that you can see what they're doing for you and stuff like that, just to kind of check it, make sure they're doing, you know explaining things right to people and things like that. We have a guy now in Pakistan who does a lot of our lyric videos kind of thing, and he's good. And I felt bad because we had to go back 4 times last time because of the language barrier. He didn't understand what some of the lines were, or what we were talking about. They had to go, oh no, like we were talking about Macy's for Christmas, and he didn't understand what a Macy's was. That kind of stuff. So I felt bad going back and forth, but he was okay with it, kind of doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you don't have the skills, then find somebody else that can do it for you. And there are plenty of independent people that will do things and are just as good as the companies that you would pay thousands of dollars to.
I have had good luck with Fiverr, so
Yes, you have.
yes, I'm a little surprised. I've had excellent luck with Fiverr for my album covers, um, little port. I don't. I want to say portrait. I know I'm using the wrong language, but uh, you know, smartphone sized videos to announce my when I was promoting my last EP. I had one done for each song
Uh-huh.
really cheap, really quick turnaround, and better than anything I could have done. Um, so I have had some success with Fiverr for a lot of stuff that I was doing for promotion. And the video, well, the type of videos they created, I don't know how to do. I guess I could have looked that up. But even the graphics, though I know how to use Canva and I do use it, it's getting a different perspective from someone else that I think is important,
Yeah.
because they can come up with things that it's more like, oh, I never would have thought of that. Is so simple, but
Right.
it works brilliantly, and I never would have thought of that. Even my wife, who does okay with graphics, even
Right.
her looking at stuff like, I wouldn't have thought of that. That's actually really cool.
Right. And one of the and because when we have a graphic and it's on the phone or it's little, you know,
Yes.
and you're going, oh yeah, well that's cool. When it's we did that recently. Somebody sent us one for a graphic for a single, and I said, make it small. And we're like, oh no, I can't even see the title now on that, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so having somebody that has a different perspective and a different eye, because sometimes we're too close to what we're doing in our project that we just don't see those other possibilities. That's the reason we kind of run after those kind of things. So I think it's important that we keep our minds open for that stuff, especially if you're getting busy or bogged down or whatever it is. And one of the big things for me is if you have a list of things you're doing and you get to Friday and you didn't complete them and you're going, how come I didn't complete that? There's two reasons why. One, you don't know how to do it, or two, you're afraid to do it, right? So you may have to put it on your list for next week. If it hits again at the end of the week, you need to ask for some kind of help to make it happen. And so don't worry about going going outside of yourself to do that. There's plenty of possibilities, and especially with graphics now, and videos and all that kind of stuff. Because for me, we really need to do a video for every single that we put out. There are people who go, oh, forget about YouTube, nobody's looking at that. I don't believe that. I still look at it. Right. I want to see and hear it. And then other times you just want to hear it, that kind of stuff. So you want to start thinking about those things. So time and money, again, always gets in the way, but you want to just think of different possibilities to make it easier on yourself, basically. This is a time of year we update our business. So we actually Harold has a band called Gravity 180, and they have gravity180.net because we couldn't do .com because somebody else had it, right? So then we're trying to discuss, should we just different get something different that's .com, something that's easier, those kind of things. People have to find you, so it doesn't cost a lot to get those. So think about it, and you can have more than one direct to your website when you have it. So you can always think of that stuff too. Um, if you are only active on one social media, I'm ecstatic. If you are actually going to post twice a week, I am so happy, right? Because it takes dedication to do it. So pick the same date and time that works for you. Otherwise, if you miss it and you go, forget it then. I had 12 students in my Getting Gigs class this quarter, and I ask, how many people have social media? I'll raise their hand. How many people posted this week? Nobody. And I'm like, oh, what is going on here? Why haven't you posted? That kind of stuff. And they're like, well, I don't know what to say. I don't that kind of stuff. But you think people between the ages of 18 and 24 would be doing that stuff, but they're not necessarily doing it. So get a website. If you can't get a website, get a free Bandcamp or Reverb Nation to hold you over, so people can find you. Really, really important. If you have not, and a lot of people have not, if you have not copyrighted your songs and they're out already, copyright those songs. Because all you need is somebody to use it, or say it's theirs and you can't prove it and all that kind of stuff. And if you have not joined a PRO, Performing Rights Organization, ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, do it today. So that's how you find, if you're anything gets out there, that's how you get your royalties. And in fact, people always ask which ones I like. They all do the same thing for me, but ASCAP you can join for free as a musician and as a publisher now. So hey, I would go for it, with that kind of stuff. So they all do the same thing. So kind of run after that stuff. Um, Take a look at your bio, where you have one, or you have one on your website or something like that. You guys can write a killer song, but you can't write your own story. What is that about? Right? Um, t- just if you don't like it, give it to somebody else to write, or just write everything down, and then you can kind of go back and compile it. I had a student in one of my classes who said, "Well, I don't have any credits. I don't have anything," and in two classes, I said he runs a radio station himself, and he's a DJ and he's been around the world. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought you said you didn't have anything, right? And so, what you think in your mind about not having anything, that you can kind of sit down and figure it out and remember. And if you like your bio, don't recreate it. Keep it like it is. All you have to do is change the last line that says something like, throughout 2025 I'll be releasing 7 new songs and uh and, and doing promotional tour or something like that. It's got to look like it's updated, right? So just go on and change that last line. That's all you need, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time if you like it more than anything else. The only reason we change a bio is something great happens to you, and then we kind of put it in there. So you want to make sure that you're doing that stuff. If you have not put your songs out yet, pick a music distributor. I don't care who you use, DistroKid, or you use TuneCore, or you use any of the other ones, CD Baby or whatever it is. Pick one. And I have to say this because somebody recently told me that they were joining both. They were joining two. And I'm like, no, no, no. That's why your song didn't get on. So now I have to say that because I thought it was understood that you just choose one music distributor to get it out to everything. So now I need to say that out loud because apparently somebody is saying you need to join them all, and your stuff will never get out there otherwise. So I, I'm like I said, I never even thought to say that until somebody told me that. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to add this in too, just in case somebody is doing that kind of stuff. If you have not started an email or a newsletter, start one. And I always use, William, I always use your your line that you told me that you went to Instagram and you message everybody and then you got an email list, you know
Oh, right. Yeah, right, right, right.
because when I tell some people that, oh, you should have email us, and look at me like old school, you know that kind of stuff. But you have more people like paying attention to your email list and listening and doing stuff than on social media, right?
Yeah, if anyone's, I could tell you what happened recently. But yes, yes, I get more people taking action through my email list than through social media by far.
Yeah. So not that you don't do you got to do everything, right? That kind of stuff, just to kind of see what works and what doesn't work, and then decide if you want to continue something else, whatever you're doing.
Yep.
Um, so it's trial and error. Don't spend a whole lot of money if it's not working for you, you know and so so put a cap on it. I'm going to spend this much for 3 months, let's see what happens, with that kind of stuff. So important. I think that's so important because I've tried different things with other people and they're like, I could do that myself." Right? That kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that the updating your business is just so important. And this is a time for us to do it. If you don't have an EPK, go put one together, right? Because you need it for whatever. It's just, remember, it's just a summary of what's going on with you. It's not your whole website. Because I've had people send me a 7-page EPK. I'm like, dude, you know, no, no. It's supposed to be a summary so I can just read something short, push this button, go here, that kind of thing. And so, no. Please don't send anybody a 7-page EPK. And you can do the EPK on Canva, and it picks up all the links for you and all that kind of stuff. So we do it for promotion, we do it for gigs. You can do one and that's it, whatever you got. More and more people are asking for it. Even when there's a application form to perform somewhere, they're asking for an EPK more than anything else. So it's, to me, I think that's really important when we're looking at that stuff. So this is a time to look at that. When I started working, I'm working with a young girl, Cassie and Dunn, from near the Tennessee area. I've known her for years too. And last year she called me and she goes, I have 10 songs, I want to put them out. And I was like, okay, let's start. We went through her website and what's there and did a new EPK, and we took a couple weeks kind of getting things ready, and then we're like, oh, now we're proud of everything we're going to send out. So it just took a little while to do that kind of stuff, to update it, to change it, to maybe get new pictures. God forbid, get new pictures, stuff like that. Get something you're proud of instead of going, oh, every time I look at that picture, I hate that picture. You'll be taking a lot of pictures in your lifetime, so do something that's current kind of thing. So if you're growing your career from scratch, how many songs are you releasing? We can talk about, it's about getting current today. If you don't have songs out, because I talked to somebody this past year, I kept saying, when you put your songs out? Like, oh, well, I'm working on it. I'm like, I've been talking to you for 6 months. You still don't have it out, right? And I'm going, so when are they coming out? Well, maybe I could put one out in November. I said, that's not a good time. It, it's not a good time. But if you can put it out the beginning of November, go for it. At least it will make you look current that you put something out this year. Because if they go and look and you have something from 3 years ago, they're like, oh, they're not current. For any of the new stuff that comes by, they want to see that you're current. And it would be good if you had something current from this year, but if not, then it'll be January whenever you're doing that time. So take that time to write, if it's every day or whenever you need to. Find some collaborators. You know, um, there's nothing wrong with getting together with somebody else who's stronger in one area or another, whether it's melody or words or whatever it is, that kind of stuff. So it's really okay to collaborate on songs. I met somebody at one of the Christmas parties last year, a young songwriter, and he said, "Oh, I could never songwrite with anybody who wasn't in the same situation as me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, we'd have to like experience it together." And I was like, no, I got to tell you something. There's a lot of people that experience the same thing as you have. They just haven't done it today, right? And he goes, "Oh, I could never do that." And I just said, "You're young. You'll figure it out." And I said, "But to be sometimes a good songwriter, you're stronger in one area than another, and so sometimes you need to collaborate. So with this trying to fight against, oh no, it's only me. Guess what? Maybe not. Maybe you can really work with somebody else, and it will bring another side of you, right? That you never thought of. Maybe you never thought about writing a dance tune. Never thought you could, right? And then you start worrying with somebody else, like, hey, I guess I could write a dance tune. So maybe you're not just stuck in one area. So sometimes you can open it up. If you don't have a recording device besides your phone, get one. So if anything comes up, or you have to send a track to somebody or whatever it is, just make sure that you have a recording device. And for rehearsals, we always make sure that everybody has their own recording device for rehearsals, so they know what they have to work on. And so that's, to me, we've always done that. Find somebody who records Pro Tools, or you learn it for yourself, whatever it is, because you know what you want to sound like. And so if somebody knows who you are and what you're all about, maybe they can help you with doing something like that. Because we've gone to recording engineers and producers, and they didn't get us. We recorded something and I was like, this is just not me. you know. So sometimes you have to go through. It's okay to record one song with all different people. You don't have to record with the same people because sometimes you have different vibes and things. You know, Harold that I work with, we have 3 or 4 recording studios we go to now, depending on the kind of recording that he needs, because we like those people. If they're not available, we're out asking people. You know, you got somebody we can kind of go to, because there's plenty of musicians around to say who's good and who's not when you're doing that. If you have a band, rehearse often. Well, you don't have to have a show to rehearse. You should be rehearsing and working shows out and all that kind of stuff. It's so important that you continue to rehearse. I don't feel like you're really a band unless you're rehearsing a little bit every time you're doing it, and it just encourages you to move forward and work on different parts and all that kind of stuff. Because not everybody, you know, if you're by yourself and you're recording and performing by yourself, it's a lot of work. You know, it's a lot of work to put some other people together with you too, but it's a lot of songs for you to perform in an hour by yourself, you know. So you have to just consider that when we start thinking about those things. I think it's important. What's next for you? This is what I do. If I want to work with anybody, I don't care if another songwriter or it's a producer or it's somebody who is in publishing or whatever it is. It's about getting other people to talk about you. It's about them doing a little review about your single. It's about being on a podcast. It's about getting a live recording of you with a college student radio station. It's all about everybody else speaking to you. So what I always do is look for that. So Cassie that I work with, she's a solo performer, right? Never got any reviews, never played any big shows, never did anything like that. So I said, what we're going to do is she wanted to put a song out every month. And I said, girl, that's a lot. Because doing her own videos and stuff. And I said it, she said, oh, I want to though. I'm like, okay, we can do it. So we start doing it, and then we start talking about press. I Googled, you know, I made her write down all of her songs, the titles, when she wanted them to come out, what month, and a little line or two about each song. Either where it came from, what it was inspired for, what it's about, something like that. So when we do promotion, then we put that in there that the artist says the song is inspired by da da da, that kind of thing. And we just do a simple press release. Some of the press releases you see, it's a full page, it's a lot of writing. People are not reading those, right? Do something like a one sheet that says releasing the picture, the graphic that you have, a little bio of yourself or your band. We're talking no more than 3 lines, right? Then a picture of the graphic and the quote from the artist, your contact information, and that's it. You don't need more than that. A link to your Spotify, a link to your YouTube, a link to your website. That's all you need. And then we look it up online. Sometimes it's by subject. We look to see, is there a podcast that talks about being depressed because you got dumped or something like that, right? And we look for 10. So every time she put one out, we would pick 10 press outlets, a couple playlists, a couple reviewers, a couple independent radio stations, whatever it is. We'd send that out to them. And we would do it every single month. And so she was surprised because the second month she got a review on her single, wrote it up and that kind of stuff. The next month we had someone from an international, and I think it was from Germany, an international like independent radio station that did a whole feature on her. Whatever, right? And then I was talking to her one day after we did the third or fourth song, and she calls me. I just talked to her. She said, "How did this happen?" And I'm like, "What?" And she said, "This morning I had this many people listening to my streams. Uh, in the last hour, I got 356 more listeners." And I said, she goes, "How did that happen?" I said, "Well, one of the playlists that we do must have featured you, and then people come." And she was like, wow. Right? And then one day she says, "Now I'm on iHeartRadio. How did that happen?" Right? And I'm like, the same thing happens when we do that. So we started doing little by little, that kind of stuff. But it's all publicity, it's all promotion, the whole thing. Picking press reviewers. Again, you can start with the Indie Bible if you don't have it. Google it. Whatever kind of music you do, guess what? Mr. Google will have independent reviewers for you. And you may not have to, some of them will say submit through Submit Hub. So you have to pay a little bit to make that happen. If you do it, great. If you don't, okay. You can just try it, those kind of things. But we've had some actually pretty good success with some of the Submit Hood, but we only put up like 3 a month. We don't do like 45 a month or something like that. We focus it, right? With anything like that. If you're trying to sell tickets, have a party to sell your tickets. Comment to everybody. If you can find out somebody's birthday, send them an Instagram verbal message kind of thing. And I know this seems like a lot of work, but if you have a fan that keeps coming back over and over again, then you need to pay attention to them. Because I got to tell you something. I'm from a fan perspective, right? So when I liked a band, what happened was that I would have a caravan of people follow me to the gig because I knew everybody who liked that kind of music. So I could bring 30 people in the room. And so I knew that when they came, then then they would always come because I knew it, right? So there are people out there like me. I guess I was should have been called an influencer, but we didn't have that back then. But if I like something, you'll have a lot of people who maybe that have a big social media platform or can bring 30 people to the room. Somebody actually I know they were touring from Texas and we were opening for them at one of the venues here in LA. And I was looking at their tour and I'm going, how are they getting people here? They've never toured yet. Their social media was like okay. And they were playing, but they played LA, but they were playing weird venues. They were playing in Modesto instead of San Francisco, and they were playing in Eugene instead of Portland. I'm like, who put this together, right? And so they were going to venues where they had to guarantee 100 people through the door. And I was like, how are they doing that, right? So I'm standing at the merch table, and I'm watching them. They had this huge merch table, and us had one table, right? And there's 3 girls that came in earlier, and they're standing by the door. And 4 or 5 people will come in and say, "Hey, girlfriend, how you doing?" Da, da, da. They're talking and stuff like that. And I know they came earlier, so they had dinner with the band, and and I said, "I think I know what they did. They went on social media, and people kept showing up. They asked them for their email, or they sent them a message and said, "Hey, can you help us bring 20 to 30 people to our show if we go to your town?" And they found 3 people in each town that could bring 30 people through the door. That means there was 100 people almost in the door every single time. And that's the reason they were playing Modesto and not San Francisco and Eugene and not Portland. Because they could bring 100 people through the door. And I was like, wow. Wow. And so they did that. Somebody put the tour together. And then they were with a big PR company because they got on one of those nighttime shows, talk shows at night. And their career just blossomed like nobody's business. When they came back to LA, they sold out the Roxy, which is over 400 seats basically. So they went from 100 to 400 within probably 8 to 9 months. That kind of stuff. This is where this stuff works. And then we open for them, so I contact them and say, "Hey, we want to open for them." Right? And they're going, "We opened for them when they were here last time." And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure. But here's a but. I thought we had to sell tickets, but it's almost sold out, so we can only pay you $350 to do a 35-minute set." I was like, "You're gonna pay us? Okay, all right, I'll take it." And then the band goes, "You didn't even negotiate?" I said, "Nope. We're getting money. We didn't have to sell. I've never had anybody play the Roxy. We didn't have to sell a ticket." That kind of stuff. And we got to know the band and all that kind of stuff. So when they came through town, we played some other places with them and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we start opening the door to perform in front of more people. Because even the first place we were drawing 50 to 100 people ourselves. And so there was 100 people who we never met before. LA's pretty big. So you think you get somebody in the room had seen them before? No. So it kind of like opens that door. So partnering with another, band, musician, something like that, because you're the similar, a genre of music, um, start taking a look at it. Get on their newsletters because it will tell you where they're playing. So you can follow them or open them or something like that. So I have an email just for that, because we do so many of them. And then that's how I find new venues. What is this venue? What's this? That kind of thing. So I'm always looking for something new and fresh. And so the people that are out there doing it, and a lot of times, like if you're talking about touring, whether it's the southeast or the west coast or whatever it is, the bands that are on the rise, they play at certain places. There's actually like a tour route that you can kind of see. So if you follow somebody like that, you'll be able to see those kind of venues and stuff like that. So it's important to do that. Um, break into features with a special story, or a charity connection. If you feel I do this, I make them do it at my class. I'm going, all the musicians in class, your homework assignment is to pick a charity that you wanted to be involved in. But you need to have a story for it. Your sister has diabetes, or your best friend family became homeless when you were a kid and you don't ever have that happen again. You get to choose it. And it's not that we're looking for any, like, some don't pick the heart association because, like, hey, they got a lot of events, or something like that. You got it because you'll get promotion just because of your story. And maybe you'll be on KTLA in the morning because they're doing a charity here and they have you play, and then they're going, oh, why are you doing this? And then they go, tell us about your new product. What are you doing? That kind of stuff. So it opens up a door for you. And you never know sometimes when you play it, and most times when you play a charity, they're still going to pay you something. I've had charities pay the musicians $1,000 to play because they have a sponsor. So you always have to ask. And if everybody is doing it for free, then I'm fine doing it for free, right? With that kind of stuff. But you want to be able to pass out your information and stuff like that. We got to use paper, text, email, to connect, promote your music to shows, all kind of stuff. Nothing is old school. We have to use everything that and keep talking about it. Always have, if you're playing anywhere, have a little either a business card or something you do on Canva with a QR code or something in your pocket, and so you can hand it to somebody because people forget, and so they put it in their pocket and they take it out and go, oh yeah, she's playing on Friday, and then there's a QR code and they're like, let me hear her, let me look at that video, that kind of thing. So it just helps you grow no matter what you're doing. So promotion. I mean, I will have my friend from Trend PR, Hunter Scott. He didn't do it last year, but most years he comes in and will do a workshop about how to release and promote what you're doing. That's what they do for a living, and he will do a workshop for me. So you can see it online, and we actually started doing some stuff in person at his office. So we kind of were doing both. So you could show up in person. We had seize a small space, and then we also were doing it online with that kind of stuff. So I'll be having more of that stuff. Promotion is the way to go, even if you do a little at a time. It will take off. It does every time. So you can send out 10 for every single song that you put out, then they'll start picking stuff up for you, that kind of stuff. So publicity and promotion are so important. Um, I want you to try to think about performing more often. How do you get the butts in the seats? That's the big deal. Always is. How many people can you draw? How many tickets can you sell? All that kind of stuff, right? Not that there are places that you don't have to do that, right? So if you want to play in Hollywood, any major city, then you play 5 cities around the major city. You play as many places as time as you can until you can get 3 or 4 people that will buy a ticket to come in to see you. So if you're doing that guaranteed situation where it says it's $10 to get in and you got to sell 30 tickets or you don't get paid, then you got to try it once in a while, and don't do it if you don't think it can bring anybody. We don't play the game unless we know we can win, right? So uh, that's what happens when you're doing that kind of stuff. Um, Prepare a 16-minute set. If you don't have one, get one, because you can make money if you play for 60 minutes, right? Um, Local, if you have not played 100 miles from your home, you have not conquered your local area. Um, Places that you don't have to stay overnight, 100 miles. There is so many cities are right around you no matter where you are. Right? Start thinking about, because you have to understand that when you're doing that, you're playing in front of a new audience. That's the same thing that when you go on tour, you're going to be playing in front of a whole new audience. So you kind of get your feet wet doing those kind of things, and you get better more than anything else. So if again, if you want to do some touring, then look at a weekend 300 miles from where you are, do a couple venues, a couple cities, that kind of things. But we have to get the paid gigs first. This is what we're doing now. Right now is when the outdoor events for the spring, the summer are booking. So there's a lot of really big places that also have an acoustic side to them too. And so this is the time to explore that. And every every state has a Department of Tourism. So look for the Department of Tourism, and it lists all the events happening in your state, and it kind of will give you an idea of where to go for that kind of stuff. If you're in California, go to See California, SEE California.com, and there they have festivals, and we celebrate every fruit under the sun, right? So we have all kinds of things, and I bet you do too. You don't even know about it. Your cities, wherever your cities are, they all have a street fair. They all have an outdoor thing that they're doing. It's the avocado festival and the orange festival and the watermelon festival, all kinds of stuff, right? If you think you'd be great for a winery, there are areas when a lot of wineries are happening, and sometimes they actually have summer concert series. So start thinking about that. In the state of California, we have 200 summer concert series. 200. All right. You can, and that's on that See California. Look at summer concert series. It lists every single city that has one, that kind of stuff. And so it's usually through the Chamber of Commerce or it's through the city. And you want to look for the Department of Recreation when you're doing that. That's what we're doing right now. We're trying to go after the big gigs right now. The ones that are, if you look at any venue or um, any event that's happening and they have a sponsorship button, it means that they have money to pay you. So you should be paid for that stuff, right? If it's a big one, this is the time of year right now. We're back past the COVID stuff. Everybody's back to their normal thing. So they're booking between now and the end of January, and you can fill the application, right? That's a lot. The big ones do that more than anything else. So you want to look at that stuff. Fine. I'll do one beginning of the year about finding gigs for you, paid gigs, because that's what I have to do first. There's colleges and there's festivals and there's street fairs and there's all kinds of stuff that you can kind of do depending what kind of music you're doing. So we'll do a special one just for that. Social media posts, make it informative, fun, and interesting. More than anything else. If it's not fun for you, you are not going to do it. Right? So if you decided you wanted to do 2 different days, you say Tuesday is my information day. So you can go to a calendar called the National Calendar Day, and it will tell you what people celebrate every single day. Like today may be National Tomato Day, or or celebrate your best friend day or something like that. And so you can kind of decide if you want to do that on Tuesday and do something musical on Thursday, whatever it is. When we were putting music out, my Brazilian artist, she says, I'm dedicating on Tuesday. I will put Tuesday I'm live. I'm going to go same day and time. And most of the time she was in her car. Hey, everybody. I'm in my car. And this is what's happening. And this is what I'm working on. And, send me, and then she'd ask a question of somebody. Send me your comments, kind of thing. And then she would do something because she was putting out new music on another day. So, it's always good if you could try to go live. And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be long. It could be during when you go to you go to rehearsals every week or something like that. Just keep it consistent because everything grows when you do that. Your audience, what does your audience want? They want free admission, free parking, free stuff, and a great show. If you can give them two of those things, one including a great show, people will come back. Right? This is what people want. I'm a fan. That's what I want. That's what I want, right? And so that's what people will be attracted to more than anything else. If you give something for free to someone, then you want to get a connection with them. So give it whatever it is you're giving to them for free. Make sure that they either follow you on Instagram or they give you an email or something so you can connect with them. It's okay to give free stuff. I go to the party store and see what they have. They got little yo-yos, and they got pens, and they got, little whistles and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to last long. It's just something fun, right? When you're doing that kind of stuff. So it really makes a difference when you're looking at that stuff. So where do you want to be next year? So this one was a little bit of a longer one, but I think it's important. I think it's important to hear what other people have to say. I think it's important for you to ask that question that we started with. Where do I want to be this time next year? And really sit down and think about it. How do you progress every month? Do you have the time and the money to do that? And if you don't, how do I get there? Right? So we have again we have our own different things that we offer to you, but it doesn't just have to be us. It could be another musician. It could be somebody that you really admire that can sit down with you and do some coaching. Whatever it is, it's okay to reach out for help. And so that's why I wanted to do this session. I usually do one in December every single year. And so I will put this up on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting the best of the two that we're doing here. And if you have any questions, please email me. It's musicbizmentors@gmail.com. And hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.